All right, now let's keep going. Today I carried a paper and a pen. So the video you're going to watch, the clip that I'm going to play for you, it's Paul Kagame speaking, and he's addressing the journalists who came to him to ask him some questions. And so I want you to be very keen when you're watching this video. Be very keen. Follow it closely and clearly. I know maybe might have happened to meet this video in other channels, and but I want you to listen to it now this time round very carefully and follow it step by step. Then we shall get after it. Now, without further ado, let's get after the video.
Coup d'etats are likely, are bound to happen in a place where so much is happening, and then the people either get fed up one way or the other and express themselves again one way or the other. As I said, they express themselves through the vote, or these ones who carry out coup d'etats are from this society. So they are part and parcel of the citizenry of these countries. So they are part of this dissatisfaction, resentment, anger, and injustice. Some young person. And then we say, oh, the establishment, unconstitutional means, da, da, da. Yes, constitutional means. But that has happened because the constitutional means did not deliver to the people to the extent that they, if you are saying it shouldn't have happened, then you should also be saying what was there before that was changed should not have been behaving the way it was behaving. And now, to the people, there is a point where they may tell you, yes, what we have is bad, the coup, bad enough. But what was there before was even worse. This is what they would tell you. So for them, they have maybe chosen between what is bad and what is worse. Is what I mean. Now, the remaining problem, which must also be addressed, it's not enough to change what you think is bad. It's also important that when such a change has happened, you must really do better than what you have removed. So these ones who carry out coups, they have a task to make sure that they justify why they removed or they did what was unconstitutional to bring change. That change must be real, must give the people what is better than what they were getting under. Then that would be justified, in a sense, by that. So that is what is unfolding that we see every day. There is that struggle that goes on. So I hope certainly those who take over, while they may be condemned, in some cases rightly so, everything can be put right by new developments happening that are going to serve people much, much better than what they had before. So, and that's what is happening on our continent. But for the dictates, for lectures, and so on and so forth, it's up to people to make a choice. And I think Africans need to just reject being. You lecture me on what should happen in Rwanda based on what? when even where you are coming from is having some confusion, some changes. So which dictate should I follow? I think we should also strive to do things the way that works for us and improves people's lives. And what is so bad is that you may follow the dictate and do the very things that will run down your country. And by the way, those who give you lectures will manifest in two forms. One, some will actually blame you for it, even if you followed what they told you to do. Others will help you to sink deeper into the mess you have driven yourself. So you are better off charting your own course with your people and doing what you think is right for you or what works for you, and especially if it shows in the outcomes, in the results, then really that is what all along deserved to happen. Right? If people followed what some of us would be saying for the last 20, 25 years, it is only to confirm what we saw coming or we thought was coming. It's not, as far as I'm concerned, it's not a big surprise with the changes that have been happening. Doesn't matter whichever background or political walks of life. Things happen to an extent that the people will eventually, for one reason or another, identify more with what they find benefiting them more than other things. And that's why we should all be making an effort, those who are at the helm of political institutions or other things, to make sure we identify with what people think works for them, and work with the people to achieve that. Short of that, if you think you just impose things the way you want, and in your own way you think is what should happen, it doesn't take very long before you are surprised that. But what, in the question you've raised, there is also some of those things that people have questioned over time. The lectures given to, say, Africa originates from the assumption, of course, given the divide there is, people call it north, south. The people of the north have assumed this right or an entitlement, that they have the power and they will use it to serve themselves well, even if it means using it against others who are even weaker. Still, that must serve their but a couple of things are interesting. While you are assuming that you have every right to take it to others and feed it to them, whether they want it or not. At the same time, at home, meaning the home of those people who think like that, there are internal processes, internal contradictions, because the people there also are saying, what are our leaders, our governments doing for us? And depending on which side of politics, one will gain over others, because, and here it is difficult to tell. You can't decide for people that this is what they must think that is right for them. Even these populist or conservative or liberals or whatever you call them, within there is a discussion as to whether what is happening internally among them serves the way they see things should happen internally now, before they go out and take it on to the others, those of us at the receiving end. So that internal contradiction will define things, and rightly so, their own way. And you see, it is very interesting when you look at, somebody talked about the administration in the United States. Following what was going on the media, I mean, on the news and the media and everywhere, there was this opinion being shaped that one side had no chance. And, you know, the leader is embroiled in litigations, here, these ones, blah, 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 you know. Even the experts we used to follow in the news would really give you an impression they have formed their opinion there is one side that is going to win. Now, a few weeks after, they sort of disappeared, really. And these were experts to tell us about things in their own place. So why do you think? Because they were saying one thing, they were forming their opinions, they want everybody to believe that for one reason or another. But somehow the process of democracy gave them a different result. And they had to swallow their pride and accept what has happened. So that is in their area. So now, as to where from the beginning they were used to taking it on some other people somewhere else, the South. Now, the South isn't going to be in a permanent state of confusion and, obedience and just following the dictates as they come along. A number of changes have to happen also one way or the other, either. changed by the people on the ground and saying these leaders of ours who are not doing anything other than sucking up to these dictates. We should find a way of getting rid of them, one way or the other. In fact, it is either one way or through the vote, which is always the preferred choice. But when that is not possible, some people have used other means to get rid of these, in a sort of defiance about how they feel they are treated by these leaders, or by extension, those who dictate their leaders, who dictate to their leaders what to do in their own countries. So one way, it will always give somehow, change will happen. So what we see on the political, economic, geopolitical landscape is a result of that. There is soul searching at different levels by different people, and it doesn't matter the weak, the strong, and there will always be a way to give in terms of the outcomes. So in Africa, Africa is no exception. You see, I have argued even openly and even to the point of probably being misunderstood. When we've been talking about, people have been talking about coup d'etats happening in different parts of our continent. Let me start with that.
We are undergoing profound changes globally in the political sphere. On the one hand, we see populist movements in the very countries that used to lecture Africa about good governance and democracy. And we also see in Africa young people taking power in unconventional ways. What does it say about the future of governance, and what will the global political landscape look like in the years to come? Thank you.
Welcome back again in the African Streamline. As usual, this is your space, this is your place, and keep on staying here. For the 10 subscribers, thank you so much. For those who it's the first time to be here, just make sure you head on and hit the subscription box, and it's going to be good with the both of us, me and you. It's gonna be wonderful. Thank you so much. So there are things I want us to go after them, and Paul Kagame has been speaking in this video, and he is speaking with a lot of concern and very carefully. Okay, he is, to some point when he's speaking, when you listen to his words and when you listen to this speech, he is speaking with some carefulness of some kind. Okay, he doesn't just want to expose words and talk anyhow. The words that he is speaking, this speech he has given out, it is a very important speech, a very strong speech. Okay, it is a speech that I've heard Ibrahim Traore speaking, talking about the same nature of the speech. I've heard Ibrahim Traore talking about it someday, but with Ibrahim Traore, he spoke it openly and directly. With Paul Kagame, he has spoken it very clearly. He has spoken it very carefully. He hasn't exposed words and spoke out words anyhow. Okay, so if you have not been very careful, sometimes you may not be able to understand what Paul Kagame was trying to insinuate or what Paul Kagame was trying to say. Now, number one, Paul Kagame has spoken about constitution and the coups. He has spoken about constitution. Number two, he has spoken about the coups. Okay, And number three, he has spoken about Africans. Are you getting my point? Number four, he has spoken about dictates. He has also spoken about the lectures. Okay? And he has also spoken about decision making, like some things that are right for other people, and because they are right and they're working well for other people think it also needs to work well to other people. They don't care if it works well to those people or it does not work well to those people. Now, let's go with the first one. On the constitution, Africa, the state of Africa today, everybody knows the state of Africa. You know the state of Africa. I know the state of Africa. Nobody doesn't know the state of Africa today. Okay? So all of us understand and we know the state of Africa. If you don't know, let me tell you the state of Africa. We are living in a continent and in a place where Western countries and foreigners would come in, do anything they want, go away. Nobody should question them. Nobody should ask them a question. Nobody, like, they don't care if there are people in those countries, in this continent. They don't care if there are people who are going through a hard time because of their decisions and because of their actions. It is none of their business. So Africa is in a place where it is in a position where we cannot make decisions for ourselves. We can't speak for ourselves. We can't do things on our own. And therefore, what do? We want to, how do I put it? We wait until we are told, do this, and then we do it. Because we are being led by foreign powers. We are living and we are staying under foreign powers. Are you getting my point? That is the state of Africa today. And it has led to our number one point. It has led to other people trying to do things or going things in an unconstitutional way. For example, in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and in Niger, we have a coup took place. Coup happened. And therefore, Ibrahim Traore took over Burkina Faso. Goita took over, Goita and Abdurrahmani, they took over Mali and Niger respectively. Okay? And it was an unconstitutional way of taking leadership, because the constitution says we must go the way of a ballot. We go to the ballot, we vote for leaders, and then they take over the government. Okay? Now, Paul Kagame might not have spoken these things because maybe he is a leader and he is trying to do away with these things and trying to join the likes of Ibrahim Traore and those people who are looking forward to deliver Africa. But as a Pan-Africanist, I'm going to speak them out, because truth must be told. Because if we don't speak the truth, nobody else is coming to speak the truth for us. And if we don't address these issues, we are going to stay and stand in the same point time and again. Nobody will rescue us. We will die. And we would rather die trying than just die silently. You understand that? Now, so an unconstitutional act took place when Ibrahim Traore took over power in Burkina Faso. But Paul Kagame is very clear. He's not saying that doing things an unconstitutional way is bad, is good. No. Now, and he's also not saying doing things constitutionally is right. Okay? Unconstitutional way of doing things, he is not saying it is right, and he is not saying it is wrong. Constitutional way of doing things, he is not saying it is wrong, and he is not saying it is right. This is what he's saying. When you do something that is wrong, or rather that is unconstitutional, or in the wrong way, you need to explain to people and tell them, yes, I did 1, 2, 3 things, but I did it because of this, and because of this, and because of this. This is what Paul Kagame is saying, and this is what Paul Kagame is insinuating. He is insinuating that you might do something in a wrong way, but you are doing it for the betterment and for the goodness, for the well-being of the people of your nation, the people of the continent of Africa, and for the interests of the people. Okay? You might use a shortcut way, but you're doing it for the benefits of other people. Okay? And so, doing something a wrong way should not be justified until you understand what was the reason as to why something was done in a wrong way. There are leaders who are in Africa today saying that Ibrahim Traore and Mali's president and Niger's president, they did an unconstitutional act by taking power. Okay? These are leaders that they still want to continue being puppets. They cannot join the Sahel because they know if they try to join the Sahel, the benefits they're getting from the white man's, from the white Western powers, from the white man's supremacy, they are not going to get it anymore. And so they would rather continue staying here. So they end up condemning other people and saying you did this 1, 2, 3 unconstitutionally. And so because you did it unconstitutionally, you did bad. Okay? My question is this. And this is the question that Paul Kagame would have asked. But somehow he asked it, but indirectly. What is the essence of you doing something in the right way and oppress other people? What is the essence of you doing something in the right way, okay, and it is making other people to suffer? Between someone who is doing something in the right way and making other people to suffer, and someone who is doing something in the wrong way, but it benefits other people and makes other people well, and it makes them feel good, who is right? And that is why sometimes I like borrowing from the Holy Book. When Jesus Christ came on the earth and he decided to break some other rules so that some other things cannot be followed, things that were oppressing people. He broke the rules. And people were asking him, the laws of the land says this and this and this. And he used to explain to them, telling them, we would rather break this law and do right than following the law that is making people suffer. Okay? It makes me remember when the laws of the land said you should not work on a Sabbath day. And then Jesus Christ goes to the church and heals someone on a Sabbath day. And then the Pharisees came to him, they're asking him, why did you do this? You have gone against the law. You're not supposed to do anything on the Sabbath day. And he asked them, am I supposed to let this person die because it is on a Sabbath day? He says, when your cow drops into the pit, will you let it die there because it was on a Sabbath day? Or will you go ahead and take it out of that pit? What are we saying? Sometimes we have to break some rules to make things right. Sometimes we have to go and follow the wrong way to bring out the right decisions, or rather to bring out the right results. And that is exactly what happened with the Sahel region, with Burkina Faso, with Niger, and with Mali. And so, people should not take advantage of going or rather of applying coup to manipulate other people. Because to some point we have seen coups happening in some other countries, and at the end of the day, it was a disaster. But it's not about the coup. It's about the good leadership that we are looking forward to. It's about the good leadership that we want. Okay? And so, it might be an unconstitutional way of doing things. But can we observe the end results of this unconstitutional way of doing things? We had a government in Burkina Faso, and we have governments in Africa. Governments that are doing things constitutionally. They go to the ballot, we vote for them, they get to power, they misbehave. But they did it constitutionally. We have governments here in Africa that are democratic. They are democratic. They are going a democratic way of doing things. But their people are crying. Their People in their countries and their nations are dying every day. They're sleeping hungry, and yet that is a country that democracy is being practiced. What is the essence of you practicing democracy in a country where people are dying? I want you to go to to Kenyan Beast channel and look for that video. I did that video. I asked a very good question, because we are talking about democracy and we want to live and do things in a democratic way. Yes, we are doing it in a democratic way. But what is the essence of you doing something in a democratic way in a country where there is nobody who is well? Children are crying. Mothers are crying. They cannot breastfeed. Ibrahim Traore said our mothers can no longer breastfeed because they are angry. They have nothing to eat. Children are not going to school. People are crying. People are suffering. And you are claiming you are doing things a democratic way. What is the essence of you doing things a democratic way? What is the essence of you doing things in a constitutional way in a country where people are suffering? Do things in the right way only if it's bringing out a positive results. If it's bringing out a negative results, there is no reason of you doing it in a constitutional way and in a democratic way. Because furthermore, even this democracy is not democracy. It's just a democracy by name, by painting, by the display, but it's not a democracy. And so we have decided we are going to apply coup in our country. But let us see the end results. Nobody should condemn Ibrahim Traore for taking power from Burkina Faso unconstitutionally. Nobody should should condemn Tiani and should condemn Goita for taking power unconstitutionally. Let us only condemn them if we have seen the bad results. But if the results that are coming out are good, I would rather support everybody who wants to do coup in their country. If the results that are coming out are going to be positive, my question is, haven't you seen positive results? If you haven't seen positive results, let me know. That is number one. Number two, Paul Kagame has spoken about coups. Okay? And he talked about transitioning of power using coup way. Okay? And people from foreign countries, you find them now, they are trying to indulge themselves in the matters of Africa, condemning. Okay? And they are condemning because it is becoming hard on them. It's becoming difficult on them. It's hitting them. They cannot just come out on media and say that we are being hit by the actions that African young leaders are taking, applying coups, and some of them are coming just elected, like Senegal Prime Minister who asked France out of Senegal. It's hitting them. They cannot say it's hitting them. Okay? And you know, the problem is Africa is for Africans. African land belongs to African people. Are you getting my point? We are finding it difficult to understand why is it that someone would come from a foreign country and feel bad when something is happening in another country that is not his. What is your problem, and how does it concern you when your neighbor has decided, a man in that home has decided, now my wife is going to rule over me, or rather my children will have a say in this home? How should it pain you when you are not from that home? Definitely they have a reason as to why they are doing that. If people from Burkina Faso are not complaining, why should people from the Western countries complain? It is my home. I have made a decision, and people from that home, they are celebrating that decision. They are feeling good on that decision. Okay? Question is, why should you feel bad when I am making a decision from my own home? I am imposing rules on people from my own home. They like it. They are good with it. They are following it. They want to continue following it. They're even asking me to continue doing it because they are feeling good by what I'm doing. Okay? Why should you feel bad? Number 3, Africans. Everything that is happening in Africa, because Africa is a continent where rules are imposed. People come with this. They say, now, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. You're not given an opportunity to speak. You're not given an opportunity to air out your issues, or rather to say, I might want this and this and this. You're not given an opportunity to speak, to tell out your issues, or rather to give out your view and your perspective over something that they want to bring it in action in your country. They just feel anything they feel it's good, so they bring it out. Okay? Anything they feel it's better to them, and they bring it out to you people. Okay? So, according to the state of Africa, I started by giving you the state of Africa. We are living in a country where we are being ruled. People are on top of us. People are sitting over us. They're making decisions for us. They are saying, now, this is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to do. Are you getting my point? And now, Paul Kagame is saying, now Africans need to put an end to it, because leaders might not put end to it. African politicians may not do what we want them to do. We as youths, we might have a vision, and this vision, we may want it to be presented, or rather to be acted upon by the leaders we are having, by the politicians we have selected, we have voted for, but they may not do it. Why does Paul Kagame has to bring in Africans people? He's bringing in African people into the picture because the young people of Africa and the youths of Africa are the only best people, the only people who can be able to put an end to this, okay? To make a change, either by going and voting to the ballot and voting into the government leaders who are appropriate, the appropriate leaders into the government, okay? Or using, and he said it but indirectly, or using other means that we are seeing them being used, the so-called unconstitutional ways, okay, of taking power, but only if it's going to bring out the positive results. Because, Paul Kagame is like telling you, what Ibrahim Traore is doing is very right. Why? Because he sees what is happening in Burkina Faso right now. And it is something that African nations have really missed for a very long time. Even today, some other African countries, not some, many of them, we are still suffering in our own home. We are still crying in our own home. And so Paul Kagame is trying to tell you, I support Ibrahim Traore for whatever he's doing, but he cannot just speak it anyhow, because you understand the state right now of Africa. Are you getting my point? So it's telling us we are the people with power, with the authority, okay, with the potential as Africans to make a change. Wake up and decide to make a change, because leaders we are having, they will no longer make a change. Politicians of Africa, they will no longer make a change. Go to the ballot, vote into the government, leaders, not politicians. That is the only way to make a change. Or do it in another way. But Africa should remain a continent where we make our own rules, we live our own kind of life, we behave the way we want to behave, we take things out, we go about things an African way, as Kenyan Beast always says, an African way. Do things an African way. We also do. We need to always do things an African way, because we have our ways of doing things. We have our cultures. We have our way of doing things. We have a way we want to do things, but we cannot be able to do it the way we want because there are people who are blocking us from doing things in our own way, in an African way. So Africans have the mandate, authority, they have the potentials to do things that way. He has spoken about dictates. How did Paul Kagame brought on framed dictate? How, in which way did he frame the dictate he has spoken about? You know, we see the Western people on the social media speaking, and they're telling us, you know, we want African people, or rather we want you guys to do this in this way, to do this in this way, to do this in this way. Isn't that how they say? That is how they say. And then after saying it, they now say, if you do this in this way, it will bring this positive result. If you do this in this way, it will bring this positive result. If you do this in this way, it's gonna bring this kind of a positive result. Have you seen where people say, when you preach water, you should drink water. When you preach wine, you should drink wine. But don't preach water and you're drinking wine. Don't preach wine and on the other hand, you're drinking water. That is what we call hypocrisy. Now, it's very clear that right now, if you are watching the state of the world, if you're watching the news of the world and the politics of the world, if you're following the politics of the world and the news in the world, the politicians, the Western politics and all these things, you will be able to understand, number one, that Western politicians are frustrated, very frustrated, because whatever is beginning to happen in Africa, it's frustrating them. Now, something else I want to say. This one is very important. Listen to this. Now, everything everything that we have been told to do all this time, do this, do this, do this, do this. If you do it this way, it's going to happen this way. If you do this way, it's going to bring this positive result. All these things we are seeing today. Now, how can you come on the social media, or rather, how can you come on the press? How can you speak to the world, tell them, follow this is the right way? But in your own country, the same problems are there. The same problems are hitting you in your own country. In your own country, people are complaining because of misled. In your own country, people are complaining because you're misleading them, because you're governing them in the wrong way. You want to come from your country to come here to Africa and lead Africa and tell Africans you are uncivilized, when in your country you are not following the right way of leadership. Hypocrites. You're the hypocrites we are talking about. You cannot be you can't be a teacher who you are teaching children, telling children 1 + 1 is equal to 2. But yourself, you're telling other people 1 + 1 is equals to 11. If you are doing 1 + 1 and giving an end results as 11, you should also teach people that 1 + 1 and end results should be 11. Not teaching people it's 2 when yourself you're giving an end result of 1 + 1 as 11. That's what we call preaching water, drinking wine. People should not be complaining in your own land, in your own country, that what you're doing is not right and you need to make some improvement here and here and here. But when you come here in Africa, where people cannot see you in your country, of course we can't come to your country and see what you're doing in your country. But when you come here, people who don't know you and who don't understand you, when you speak something, they say, wow, this person has spoken like an angel. This is how we're supposed to be living. But in your own country, whatever you have spoken in our Africa, you are not doing the same thing in your own country. Your country is going through some troubles here and there. But you want Africa, you want to come and pretend that you're good in Africa so that Africans can support you and Africans can work with you so that they can be able to enjoy the goodness that you are also enjoying in your country. And in real sense, in your country, there is no goodness you're enjoying. Don't mislead us. It's high time where everybody should work things out their own way. Don't tell me to do something you cannot do yourself. Don't ask me to do something you cannot do yourself. You know, I've recently come to realize, even in the Western countries, elections normally get rigged. But they're the countries that are preaching democracy. They're the countries that are preaching doing things constitutionally. I've also come to realize that in Western countries, there is also an equal and also divides and disunity. I've realized. But there's the same people who are preaching unity. You should unite. You should live this way. You should do things this way. I've also come to realize, even in Western countries, people get killed sometimes. But when in Africa, people are abducted and killed, they condemn it. They say, this is bad, don't do it, don't do it. Yes, it's bad, and we don't want it at all, at any cost. But when you're coming to lecture me towards 1, 2, 3 things, do you consider yourself? You have seen a problem in my house. The same problem is in your house. You have failed to solve it. How can you come and solve a problem in my house, a problem that in your own home you have failed to solve it? That brings me to another point that Paul Kagame brought out. The issues of lecturing people. Yes, you lectures, lecturing Africans people and African, like you're lecturing African people like kids, when these are the human beings that are just like you. They're the people who are just like you, working like you, behaving like you, walking like you, doing things like you, born like you, created like you, thinking like you, walking like you, speaking like you, seeing like you, talking like you, listening like you. What makes you think you're bigger than them? What makes you think you are over them? What makes you think you're the one to make decisions and them to follow? What makes you think you are the one to say and them to listen? What makes you think you are huge and bigger than them? This is what Paul Kagame is saying. That we should not be lectured and to be told, this is what is good and now this is bad. So we are told this is good and this is bad. And the other one was even worse than the bad things we're having today. Like, this is bad, don't do it. The other one was even very worse. So the worst one, we are told, don't do the worst. We left it. Now, whatever we are doing now, we are being told this is bad. You see, we have never done something that is good. So we are being just told, follow this way and we follow. Follow this way and we follow. When we have our own, like we can make our own decision. We can live in an African way. The issues of lecturing African leaders here and there, it's not well. That is what Ibrahim Traore is doing. Now, Ibrahim Traore is not hiding. He is doing it openly. He is doing it openly because he does not fear anything anymore. He's a kind of a man who has decided whatever come may, but Africa must retain. It must retrieve its freedom. It must come out. It must be converted into its initial and original state. Okay? The last point. Let us live as us. And let us do things as us. Okay? What is right for them should not be right for us. What should be right for you people should not be right for African people. You have your people who have got certain kind of interests. That is why you'll find out that in the United States, the issues of LGBTQ and all those things, it's accepted. But in some other countries in Africa, they do not accept it. It's good and better according to you. It's bad and worse according to an African culture and African people. Okay? Because we have our cultures and we have the things we follow. We have we have a way of going about things. We have our cultures that we follow. Those cultures, they might be very different from the cultures that belongs to you. And therefore, whatever is right for you does not mean it should be right for me. So when you see something is right or something is good and you're doing it, it's working for you, it doesn't mean it's going to work for me. Because we have also seen things that you say and claim they are right, and you want us to do them, you are imposing them to us, but in real sense, in your country, you're not doing those right things, and it's not working for you. Okay? And that is how Africans were captured, by being lied to. This is right, do it this way, and this is right, do it this way. But at the end of the day, you yourself, you only said that because you wanted Africans to dedicate themselves to you, follow what you say. So bring us some kind of lies to them and tell them this is supposed to be done this way, this is supposed to be done this way, so that they can adhere to your rules, they can listen to you, and they can dedicate themselves to you, which is very bad. So whatever is right according to Paul Kagame to you cannot be right to Africans. And that is why Ibrahim Traore, he is doing what he thinks is right for his people, and his people are well with it. African people, stand on your feet, make your own rules, govern your own self, lead your own self, make your own decision, lead your own people, make your own people happy, not foreigners, not Westerners. That is what we are supposed to do, and that is that is how we are supposed to live as African people in the land of Africa. Africa ni nyumbani. Africa is home. Anything we do, we need to do it an African way. Everything that concerns Africa concerns me and you, and it is our business as Africans. Do let me know what you have to say on the comment section. Do let me know your reply. Do let me know your comments. I'll do my best to make sure I read them and reply them where possible. And it's going to be very good. That statement from Paul Kagame, that speech, listen to it again and again. It's a very, very, very strong speech. And if I hear African person and African leader speaking that way, I see that Africa is going to change. Not so far, very soon. African Streamline is your space and your home. When you find yourself on African Streamline, just know you are at home. My brothers from diaspora, from Caribbean, from Africa, I salute you. All right, adios guys.